Everyone thinks America's charm lives in the same 5 cities. That's cute. Because statistically, some of the most charming places in this country aren't famous, aren't flashy, and aren't trying to sell you a $9 latte. Here's the problem. We confuse popularity with livability. And meanwhile, real charm is hiding in places nobody's ranking. Until now. So today, we're counting down 10 US cities that are way more charming than you'd expect, using weird data, local quirks, and facts nobody brags about. Ghost sightings, preservation laws, loyalty rates. Yeah, it gets strange. When did quiet become a deal breaker? Wait till you see this one city. Seriously, like the video if you enjoy uncovering places the internet ignores. Subscribe if you want a survival guide to modern America. Let's break it down. Number 10. Fresno, California. Fresno will be one of the last California cities people stop laughing at, right before they quietly move there. Picture this. You're driving Highway 99. Flat land, heat shimmer, almond trees for miles. And you think, nothing interesting lives here. That's Fresno's reputation. Hot, agricultural, ignored. A city people pass through on the way to somewhere they can brag about. But then, Fresno keeps showing up in data it shouldn't. Here's what nobody tells you. Median home price, approximately $375,000. In California, that alone feels illegal. Rent for a one-bedroom, $1,200 to $1,400. Not cheap, but laughably low for this state. Unemployment sits slightly above national average, but ag, logistics, healthcare, and education keep it stable year-round. Fresno State anchors the city with over 25,000 students, quietly feeding culture, sports, and jobs. And food? Fresno has one of the highest farm-to-table supply chains in the country because the farms are literally next door. Crime exists. Let's not pretend otherwise. Property crime is the tax you pay for affordability, but violent crime trends have stabilized, surprisingly, while housing demand keeps creeping up. This city shouldn't work, but it does. Living in Fresno messes with your expectations. You save money, but then you start hiking on random Tuesdays. You complain about the heat, but then realize it keeps the crowds away. You expect boredom until you realize you're surrounded by 3 national parks and still home for dinner. Here's the irony. Fresno's biggest weakness is its anonymity. No hype means no pressure. No pressure means people live like humans again. Yeah, it's hot, but so is Los Angeles. And at least Fresno doesn't charge you $18 for parking and emotional damage. Let's talk about Fresno summers. It's not hot, it's commitment. You don't step outside, you negotiate with the sun. But the upside? Nobody pretends it's romantic. No fake beach vibes, just shade, AC, and people minding their business. Honestly, respect. Fresno doesn't sell charm. It lets you discover it until you realize that might be the whole point. And if you think that's unexpected, wait until you see the next city, where history, neglect, and loyalty collide in ways nobody saw coming. Number 9. Wichita, Kansas. Wichita sounds like a city you apologize for mentioning. Flat, quiet, middle. The kind of place coastal people imagine in grayscale. But here's the contrarian truth. Wichita didn't stall out, it opted out. This is a city built for work, not clout, and that changes everything. Let's talk numbers, the unsexy kind that actually matter. Cost of living, approximately 13% below the national average. Median home price, approximately $285,000. Yes, that's real. Average rent, $1,000 to $1,200 for a one-bedroom. Crime. Property crime exists, but violent crime sits below the US average. Job market. Aviation, manufacturing, healthcare, and engineering anchor the economy. Boeing, Spirit, Textron, real stuff. And here's the weird flex. Wichita has one of the highest live performance venues per capita in the Midwest. Music, theater, comedy, all hiding in plain sight. Surprisingly, people don't move here to find themselves. They move here to build something. Living in Wichita gives you something most cities quietly lost. Margin, time margin, money margin, mental margin. You're not sprinting just to survive. You're not branding your personality. You're existing productively. Wichita won't impress your group chat, but your bank account will absolutely respect it. This city doesn't care if you like it. That's why it works. Let's address the wind. Kansas wind isn't weather, it's a lifestyle choice. It'll rearrange your hair, your plans, and occasionally your trash cans. But here's the thing, it keeps the air clean, the skies dramatic, and the weak committed to indoors. You adapt, or you complain online. Wichita people adapt. Be honest, would you rather live somewhere exciting and broke, or boring with money left over? Yes or no? Pick a side. And if you think Wichita is quietly underrated, the next city takes neglect, history, and loyalty and turns it into something even stranger. Number 8. Mobile, Alabama. Mobile feels like a city time forgot, which usually means it aged badly. Most people hear mobile and picture humidity, history books, and a port town quietly minding its business, while New Orleans steals the spotlight. Sleepy, southern, background noise. But here's the twist. Mobile didn't fall behind. It stepped sideways. Let's hit the facts. Cost of living, approximately 10% below the national average. Median home price, approximately $220,000. Waterfront adjacent, by the way. Average rent, $1,100 to $1,300 for a one-bedroom. Crime. Property crime is above average. Violent crime fluctuates, but historic districts trend safer and more stable. Job market. Port logistics, aerospace, shipbuilding, healthcare, real industries, long-term employers. Now the part nobody leads with. Mobile hosted America's first Mardi Gras in 1703, not New Orleans. Mobile. But unlike its louder cousin, Mobile never commercialized it. No chaos, no cosplay, just locals, traditions, and a city that remembers itself. Surprisingly, preservation laws here are strict. Entire neighborhoods stayed intact because nobody rushed to modernize them into nonsense. Living in Mobile is like being in on a secret nobody's marketing. You get Gulf access without resort pricing, history without the museum voice, community without performance. Mobile doesn't scream culture, it mutters it and expects you to lean in. Money stretches further here, time slows down, and suddenly, loud cities start feeling exhausting. Mobile humidity is not weather, it's a relationship. You don't fight it, you accept it, like a weird uncle who won't leave but brings good food. Let's talk about Mobile drivers. Not aggressive, not slow, just philosophically unbothered. Red lights are suggestions, turns are emotional decisions, and somehow it works. You stop rushing, you arrive when you arrive. It's annoying until you realize your blood pressure drops 6 points. Remember when we talked about cities opting out instead of failing? Yeah, Mobile wrote that playbook early. Mobile teaches you something dangerous. Charm survives when cities stop trying to impress outsiders. And once you feel that, you don't want the noise back. But if you think Mobile moves at its own pace, the next city takes cold, isolation, and loyalty and turns them into something quietly magnetic. Number 7. Duluth, Minnesota. Duluth looks like a city that lost a bet with winter. Cliffs, ore docks, a lake that behaves like an ocean with trust issues. Most people assume it's bleak, too cold, too far, too committed. Fair, but here's the thing. Nobody drifts into Duluth by accident. They choose it. Let's get precise. Cost of living, approximately 6% below the national average. Median home price, approximately $260,000. Lake views included, if you're patient. Rent, $1,100 to $1,300 for a one-bedroom. Crime. Violent crime is well below national average. Property crime exists, but trends downward. Quality of life flex. 11,000 plus acres of parkland inside city limits. That's not branding, that's policy. Here's the stat that matters. Duluth has one of the lowest population churn rates in its size class. People don't just arrive, they stay. Surprisingly, the cold filters out anyone who's unsure. Duluth rewires your definition of safe. Not safe like gated, safe like predictable, like knowing your neighbor, like silence that isn't lonely. Duluth isn't cozy, it's emotionally fortified. And here's the contrast nobody expects. Some of America's warmest cities feel dangerous after dark. Duluth feels safer in a blizzard than some places do at noon. Let's talk hills. Duluth hills are vertical opinions. Your calves will learn things about themselves. Winter turns every sidewalk into a trust exercise. But somehow it works. The city plans for it. People adapt. No drama. Just boots, grit, and a mutual understanding that complaining doesn't shovel snow. Living here slows you down, but not in a lazy way, in a deliberate way. You don't rush past life. You prepare for it. Duluth doesn't reward optimism. It rewards commitment. It's funny. Some cities sell safety with cameras and slogans. Duluth sells it with snow, space, and people who actually care. And if you think cold cities build character, the next one proves neglect can do the same thing, just louder. Number 6. Scranton, Pennsylvania. Scranton is America's punchline city. Say the name and people smirk before they think. Old factories, faded signs, a place that feels paused somewhere between used to matter and still does. Most cities would have panicked. Scranton didn't. It just stayed. Let's get honest. Cost of living. approximately 14% below the national average. Median home price, approximately $180,000. Brick, solid, still standing. Rent, $900 to $1,100 for a one-bedroom. Crime, property crime above average. Violent crime below U.S. median. Job market, healthcare, logistics, education, remote workers. Slow growth, real stability. Here's the upside nobody brags about. Scranton has one of the most intact rail-era downtowns in the Northeast. Buildings weren't replaced. They were reused. Surprisingly, neglect preserved what gentrification usually erases. Scranton didn't get trendy, so it accidentally stayed livable. Living in Scranton rewires your sense of progress. You walk streets built for humans, not traffic. You buy homes instead of investments. You stop sprinting toward the next upgrade. This city teaches patience, and that's dangerous, because once you feel it, hustle culture starts sounding fake. Scranton winters don't care about your schedule. Snow shows up sideways, salt trucks are optimistic at best, and every driveway becomes a personal grudge match. But here's the thing, people help each other. Shovels come out. No Instagram, just survival with manners. Picture this, you're walking past old brick storefronts, coffee in hand, train horn in the distance. It's quiet, but not empty. You feel unrushed, like the city isn't asking anything from you today. And cities that survive being laughed at tend to come back with something sturdier than hype. Identity. And if you think surviving neglect builds character, the next city turns isolation into an advantage and somehow makes it work. Trust me, this next place plays the long game better than anyone. Number 5. Marquette, Michigan. Marquette sounds like a typo, or a place your phone loses service just thinking about. Upper Peninsula. Snow, distance, a town that feels like it chose isolation on purpose. Most people assume it's temporary, a phase, somewhere you pass through on your way back to real life. Except, people don't leave. Let's ground this. Cost of living, approximately 8% below the national average. Median home price, approximately $255,000. Lake access included if you're lucky. Rent, $1,000 to $1,200 for a one-bedroom. Crime. Violent crime is significantly below the U.S. average. Quality of life flex. One of the highest public shoreline access ratios in the Midwest. The job market is small but intentional. Education, healthcare, outdoor tourism, remote workers who realized cities weren't worth the stress. Surprisingly, Marquette grows slowly on purpose. No rush, no boom, no bust. Marquette isn't anti-growth, it's anti-nonsense. Living in Marquette shrinks your world and somehow makes it richer. You trade nightlife for sunsets, traffic for trails, noise for clarity. Here's the contrast that gets people. Some cities spend billions trying to feel safe. Marquette just is. Let's talk winter again. Marquette winter isn't trying to kill you. It's trying to teach you something. Snowbanks become architecture. Your car becomes a personality test. And everyone casually owns boots that cost more than their phone. But once you adjust, the silence is addictive. Picture this. You're walking along Lake Superior, wind in your face, coffee steaming, no notifications, just waves, cold air, and the weird realization that you're calm on purpose. Be honest, could you live somewhere this remote if it meant peace? Yes or no? I'm watching the comments. It's wild. Some of the most dangerous cities feel exciting, and one of the safest places in the Midwest feels like freedom. But if you think slow is powerful, the next city proves reinvention doesn't require forgetting who you were. Number 4. Bisbee, Arizona. Bisbee looks like a mistake that refused to die. A mining town bolted to a canyon wall, stacked vertically, allergic to straight lines and modern planning. Most people assume it's a tourist oddity, a day trip, a novelty with ghosts and gift shops. That assumption is exactly why Bisbee works. Population, approximately 5,000, intentionally small. Cost of living, slightly below national average, despite Arizona growth elsewhere. Median home price, approximately $240,000. Historic homes, quirks included. Rent, $900 to $1,200. Limited supply, loyal tenants. Crime, violent crime is low. Property crime fluctuates but stays localized. Now, the weird flex. Bisbee has one of the highest artists per capita ratios in the Southwest. Painters, metalworkers, writers, people who opted out of normal. Surprisingly, chain stores are almost non-existent. Not by accident, by refusal. Bisbee didn't get redeveloped because no one could agree where the sidewalk should go. Living in Bisbee means trading convenience for coherence. You walk more, you plan ahead, you stop pretending efficiency is the point of life. The payoff? Community without performance. Identity without branding. Some cities spend millions manufacturing character. Bisbee survived long enough to grow its own. Let's talk stairs. Bisbee has opinions about stairs. You don't walk somewhere, you ascend emotionally. Groceries become cardio. Amazon deliveries feel like a logistical puzzle. But after a while, you stop complaining. Your legs get stronger. Your patience does too. Bisbee doesn't accommodate you, it changes you. Picture this, late afternoon, warm light bouncing off copper-colored hills. You're sitting on a porch halfway up a staircase that isn't on Google Maps. No traffic noise, just wind, distant music, and the sound of someone welding something nearby. According to the stats, this place shouldn't work. According to your nervous system, it absolutely does. Bisbee isn't affordable because it's forgotten. It's affordable because it's selective. It doesn't want everyone. And that restraint? That's the charm. And if you think Bisbee is unapologetically itself, the next city takes heritage, preservation, and stubborn restraint and turns them into a lifestyle. Number 3. Decorah, Iowa. Decorah sounds like a town you accidentally drive past. Small, rural, Iowa. The assumptions write themselves. People expect silence, simplicity, a place where ambition went to retire. But Decorah didn't shrink into obscurity, it sharpened. Let's talk facts. Population, approximately 7,500, small by design. Cost of living, approximately 15% below the national average. Median home price, approximately $230,000. Historic homes, actual yards. Rent, $900 to $1,100. Limited supply, high demand. Crime. Violent crime is extremely low, the kind of low that doesn't make headlines. Here's the twist. Decorah hosts the largest Nordic cultural archive in the US. Real heritage, not cosplay. And for a town this size, bike lanes, trails, and walkability punch absurdly above their weight. Surprisingly, Decorah feels more international than towns 10 times larger. Some cities import culture. Decorah just remembered it. Living in Decorah is like choosing coherence over chaos. You trade convenience for connection, speed for depth, noise for meaning. Here's the irony. People chase community in massive cities. Decorah hands it to you by default. Let's address the coffee situation. Decorah has strong opinions about coffee. Every cup comes with a story, a roast philosophy, and eye contact. You don't grab coffee here, you commit to it. Is it slower? Yes. Is it annoying when you're late? Absolutely. But the coffee's good, and somehow, you stop rushing. Decorah teaches a dangerous lesson. You don't need scale to feel whole. You need alignment. That's why people who move here don't talk about it much. They don't want it diluted. And if you think a small town with global culture is impressive, the next city proves preservation can beat progress on purpose. Trust me, this next place chose enough and never looked back. Number 2. Port Townsend, Washington. Port Townsend looks like a town that forgot to update itself. Victorian buildings, fog, sailboats, a vibe that says, we opted out sometime around 1890. Most people assume it's frozen, retired, a museum pretending to be a city. That assumption misses the point. Port Townsend didn't stall, it stopped, on purpose. Let's break it down. Population, approximately 10,000, stable, intentionally capped. Cost of living, above national average, but controlled. Median home price, approximately $560,000. Preservation has a price tag. Rent, $1,500 to $1,800. Limited supply by design. Crime, violent crime is well below national average. Property crime modest and localized. Here's the real flex. Port Townsend has one of the highest intact 19th century building ratios west of the Mississippi. They didn't sell out. Surprisingly, the job market works anyway. Boat building, maritime trades, arts, remote professionals who don't need a skyline to feel important. Port Townsend costs more because it refused to become worse. Living here changes your relationship with time. You walk slower, you talk longer, you stop optimizing everything. And that's the trap. No big music swell, just this. Zoning laws here literally prevent progress as most cities define it. Yeah, that was intentional. Let's talk coffee. Port Townsend coffee is artisanal in a way that feels slightly judgmental. The cup is small, the price is not, and the barista definitely built a sailboat once. Is it annoying? A little, but you drink it slower, which, yeah, that's the whole theme. Remember when we said some cities opted out instead of failing? This is the final form. Port Townsend teaches you that preservation isn't nostalgia, it's strategy. They chose enough and then defended it. Once you feel that kind of stability, chaos starts to look optional. And if you think choosing restraint is bold, the final city proves charm can be small, defiant, and completely unmovable. This town shouldn't function. According to your breathing, it absolutely does. Eureka Springs doesn't care who you were before you got here. Just don't try to change it. Like the video if you enjoy places that shouldn't work, but do anyway. Subscribe if you want a survival guide for choosing peace over hype. Honestly, it's cheaper than therapy. Eureka Springs isn't perfect. It just knows exactly who it is and never apologizes for it. Number 1. Eureka Springs, Arkansas. Eureka Springs feels like a town someone hid on purpose. No grid, no stoplights, streets that curve like they're avoiding you. People expect kitsch, tourists, a weird weekend. What they don't expect is conviction. Let's get real. Population: approximately 2,200. Tiny, intentional. Cost of living: below the national average. Barely Arkansas cheap, but worth it. Median home price: approximately $260,000. Historic, preserved, non-negotiable. Crime: violent crime is very low. Property crime stays localized. Quality of life twist: one of the most LGBTQ-friendly small towns per capita in the US. Here's the stat that matters most. Eureka Springs has one of the highest historic preservation compliance rates in America. Nothing gets erased here. It gets absorbed. Eureka Springs didn't pivot, it doubled down. Living in Eureka Springs strips you down. You walk a lot. You slow down accidentally. You stop performing your life. Somehow, in a deeply conservative region, this town built radical inclusivity without asking permission. That contradiction? That's the charm. Let's talk roads. Eureka Springs streets look like they were designed by vibes alone. GPS gives up. Your car climbs at angles it wasn't emotionally prepared for. But after a week, you stop fighting it. You park. You walk. You realize cars were optional the whole time. Picture this. Morning fog lifting off the hills. Old wood floors creaking. Coffee on a porch that shouldn't exist at that angle. According to the stats, this town shouldn't function. According to your breathing, it absolutely does. Eureka Springs doesn't care who you were before you got here. Just don't try to change it. Like the video if you enjoy places that shouldn't work, but do anyway. Subscribe if you want a survival guide for choosing peace over hype. Honestly, it's cheaper than therapy. Eureka Springs isn't perfect. It just knows exactly who it is and never apologizes for it.